Hello friends, you're with the Lonesome Gamer and I'm playing 1835. And we go into the new stock round. Now, we're going to see a lot of things happening in this stock round. This is really going to be the big stock round that will be critical for the outcome of the game. This guy holds priority right now, and there are a few companies in a really bad shape. The Mecklenburg-Schwerin has only a 3+3 and $5. The Sächsische has no train at all. The Württembergische has a single 4 train, which is at least a permanent train. Over here, the Oldenburgische has a single 4 train, the Hessische has a 5 train, which is okay. There is also a lot of money in here. But I think especially the Mecklenburg-Schwerin and the Sächsische might now get dumped on someone. So who will be the lucky guy? Well, as I said, first, he's got the options to sell some shares, and well, let me see. How dangerous is it that he ends up with the Sächsische? I mean, he definitely wants to buy a train. He definitely does not want to buy a train out of pocket. So you gotta make sure that's not gonna happen. Now let's see. Let's assume this guy for some reason sells his share for 10%. And then this guy has to sell at least 50%. That's not true. He's got to sell 40% to get rid. He only can sell 40% because there can be only 50 in the bank pool. That means the presidency will go here and he cannot sell any more shares. Okay. However, if he does not sell his 10%, this guy does sell only 40%, and the presidency would move here. He could sell another 10%, and he's going to end up with the company. So that means he's going to sell at least 10%. And he might even consider selling 20. It's also interesting for this guy now, because if I sell 20 and he sells 10, even if I sell 20, he won't get rid of the presidency. It's simply not going to happen anymore, because he can he can sell a maximum of 30 then. That means he's sitting still on 20%. So basically this guy is now, he tells me, okay, please sell 20% and save me. So this is now, these are the things. Which guy is stronger? Who's in a better position? And who do I want to end up with that presidency? Honestly, I think on the long run, this guy over here might be actually in a better position. He holds the Hessische with a 5 train. He can buy another train for it, and he's got a ton of shares. He has 30% of the Preußische, who is performing fantastic. And he's got a permanent train on the Oldenburgische, so I think he is in a better shape. So therefore, I guess I only want to sell a single share, which is not a guarantee that this guy will end up with the presidency, only if he doesn't sell his share. Okay, now this player also could sell a share, and then he would not end up with the presidency. But he's in the same position. He's saying, this guy is my main competitor. It seems like I am in the lead now. I hold the Badische, which is performing really well. I control the Preußische with a ton of money, or with 3 trains, which I can still shuffle between my companies. But this guy with the Hessische in a very good shape and a bunch of Preußische Aktien is my main competitor. So I want him to become the new president of the Sächsische, which might not be as deadly as it seems, but it is going to be painful. I mean, you know, that's the thing. Is it that bad? But actually it isn't. It isn't that bad. So I got that weird choice now. That's a tough call. I might even help him, but I don't know what to do here. I think I'm going to hold on to that share. It might be a good share one day, and yeah, I think I'm fine with that. I'm going to hold on to that. 1, 2. But I'm going to sell these and dump the company. Then I'll have 50% of that in the bank pool. So that is 210, 222 that I get for this. Hope I find something interesting to buy. So this company goes now to the other guy. And then I'm simply going to buy another share of the Badische. And then I can do the nationalization thing and force simply other players to sell me their Badische shares. So that thing is, the moment is at 90. Oh crap, I gotta pay, of course. And now it's him, and he's sitting in a really bad position now. He holds 3 companies with a 4 and a 3+3 train overall. Okay, I mean, theoretically what he could do, he could say, I keep these companies and just juggle the 3+3 between these 2, or maybe even the 4, depending on which one is worse, and hope that no one buys the 6+6. And there's a good chance that will happen if I hold 3 companies, because this guy will buy the 6, he's got the money, but I'm pretty sure nobody, and the others are all sitting on, they are all train locked. So the only guy who could buy another train would be the Oldenburgische Eisenbahn, but they're sitting at nothing. They don't have any money at all. So there's a good chance, if I don't buy a train, that the 6+6 simply won't come out. Is that something I want to do? Maybe. Maybe I really want to do that, you know? I mean, I could sell these shares. Problem is, I'm going to have 2 certificates which don't help me at all. And this one will also be in a bad shape. So I don't think I want to do that, because I'm for sure last. I can avoid bankruptcy this way, but all I have is one company. I cannot even use that money to buy the train, because it would it would hurt me in the end more. So, you know what? I just have to push through here, I guess. So, well, I can still buy shares though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I could, of course, now I could dump the Sächsische on him. And that's the question, do I want to do that? I could dump the Sächsische on him, or I could keep it and say, hey, there's 450 bucks in there, which isn't too bad. You know what? I'm seriously considering keeping all this crap. It will cost me money, but maybe it won't be that bad. The Sächsische will operate first, so that means I'm going to get the 6th train. I can buy that out of pocket for 150. That's no big deal at all. Then I can buy the 3+3. I mean, what is a shame is that I'm only gonna have a single train in this company. That sucks, and it's just a 4 train. That's really painful. But well, I don't know. Guess that such is life. Okay, so we're done with the stock round. And yeah, this guy actually decided to hold all his shares, not dump the Sächsische. There's a lot of money in there and it's not going to be too painful. The problem is more the Mecklenburg-Schwerin, but he couldn't avoid taking that. We've seen a few nationalization things. This guy is sitting at 90% of the Bayerische. This guy is sitting at 100% of the Badische. And he also did a nationalization action. Well, actually, he could... look at that. He could maybe... How much is the Hessische? It's pretty... But he can buy another share, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Absolutely. I kind of forgot him. He can buy definitely one more share. Now I'm considering maybe I can force the Hessische away from him. It's 90. This is a double share, so that would be basically it's 270. That's a lot of money, and it's something he doesn't have. If he sells, let's say, the Sächsische, could he then afford the Hessische? I don't think so. The Sächsische is at the moment at 112. No, he can't. So it seems like he has to wait with that a little. What is in there? Well, we have a share of the Preußische for 69. I think I'm going to buy that. That's only a half share. But other people also did that. This guy holds 10% of the Preußische. In the end, the Preußische is performing well. I mean, it has 3 trains. Even if one train should be bought over, it is performing better than some of these crappy 4-train companies. And basically, you need double the performance, right, to make this worth something. But that's going to happen. I mean, there's also good share appreciation. It's at the top. It's going to jump quite a bit. So I think it is worth it holding 5% shares of the Preußische compared to holding, I don't know, a 10% share of the Oldenburg or the Mecklenburg-Schwerin. And there's not that much else out there, right? So therefore, I think it's okay to do that. And it costs only 69 bucks. this guy had basically the option to buy a 5% share of the Preußische or to do this nationalization and buy the Bayerische from him. But the Bayerische would cost him about 150 bucks. And the worst part is that the money doesn't go into the bank pool but in his pocket. So he said, you know, I think I prefer to buy a Preußische than for 69. Okay, cool. So now he holds priority and we're going into the ORs. Okay, so the Prussian is running exactly for 600 bucks, which is by far the best run until now. And I'm considering swallowing it. If I do that, there'll be enough money in the company to buy a 6+6. I mean, it would mean I would have swallowed twice in a row with these guys. But on the other hand, I'm pretty sure there's going to be much runs left. The Badische wants to buy one. I mean, the 3+3 will probably go away pretty soon. There's going to be enough money for a train over here. This guy has to buy a few trains. So we're going to see the 3+3 will be destroyed. Then the Badische can buy, for example, the 5+5 over. And that means there is room for a 6+6 in here. And the Prussian can run 3 trains effectively. You know, they can generate a ton of money with all their stations. They have great routes. I only hold 10% more. I only hold 45% of the Prussian. This guy is sitting on 35%. So it's not that much. But on the other hand, I mean, it makes a ton of money. And I think I will do it. I think I will swallow instead of... I'm going to roll a die, and on a 1 to 5, I'm going to swallow. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Otherwise, I think I really would have regretted that. So that gives me 600 bucks. This is now exactly the amount I need. Got about $3 left then to buy a 6 train. That's very cool. Of course, the share value drops, but I hope it's worth the money we will get out of this. And we are going to see, I guess, about 4 or 5 more ORs, because the other companies will not have that greater runs, right? I mean, there are a lot of companies who only own a single train, and then I will be the owner of a company with 2 trains and of a company with 3 trains. That should make me a clear winner. Now the Sächsische is trainless, so they upgraded Dresden into brown. Couldn't pay out, so they have to buy a train, and they, well, let's simply do it. We need 600 bucks for that train, so I already said it, it's not going to be that bad. We have to pay exactly 149 bucks to get a train into the company. That's not such a big deal. And now the Sächsische has a 6 train, and that's something. Okay. The Bayerische will operate now, and they have one really good run, but that is probably going to be their last really good run. And that's not going to be good enough to swallow and buy then a 6+6, a second train. They're not going to get there. So I don't think they will even try. By the way, just to show you the runs, the Preußen ran the 5+5 train over here, just basically taking all this. You know, they ran a circle here and started down there, and there's this nice little tile, which I'm not even sure if I used it even once in my games. It's a very rare occurrence that I use that tile. And so that was the 5+5. They did run the 4 train, I think something like this, from Hamburg over here to Dresden. And then they had the the 4+4, which I think they basically ran also from Hamburg down here to Fürth. So just like that. And the Sächsische didn't have a train. The Bayerische ran now the 3+3. Yeah, they ran that guy simply from Berlin like this. And the 6th train ran from Munich via Augsburg here to Hamburg. And yeah, 330 for the Bayerische. He paid out. It's not worth swallowing. It would take 3 swallows or more to get a second train. That's not going to happen. So he's happy about that run. He owns 90% of the company, so that gave him quite a boost, $300 basically. And then there is this guy here with 10%. And the company paid out. Okay, sweet. And now it's the Hessische. And they have a 5 train and the money to buy themselves a 6+6. So the Hessische paid out 200. Now they hold exactly 720 here, and that is not a coincidence. And that gives them enough to buy a 6+6. Okay, there we go. Now the 6+6 destroy the 3+3. So that means the Bayerische loses a train, the Badische loses a train, and that's a shame. It's a shame that the Badische, well, yeah, it's not that bad actually. I mean, they're gonna buy that train over, but yeah, it would have been maybe nice for them because they are the next if they could have had that run, but it's not gonna happen. So these 3+3 trains all go away now, and that means now the Mecklenburg-Schwerin is also trainless, and this guy has to come up with some kind of solution here. So now it's the Badische. They only have a 5 train. I kind of regret that they didn't place a token in Frankfurt. Maybe that would have been stronger than what they have now. Yeah, placing that token here was a bad mistake. I should have really placed it in Frankfurt instead. The Badische is... They can run one train very well here, but then they cannot, you know, the thing is the 5 train is hard for them to run efficiently because of all the dots that are in here. So if they now get, let's say the 5+5, they could run the 5+5 even from down here and then run all this crap and then use the 5 from here and go to whatever, to Hamburg or something like that. That would have been great. But now they're stuck in here. And they cannot make a connection from here to Frankfurt because this tile could not be upgraded. This tile can only be upgraded in exactly this. So they cannot break out here. They can go this way, which sucks, or they can go that way, which sucks. So, yeah, they had a tile, if they had a token here, things would be much, much better for them. This way, with the 5 train, it seems they can go only like this and then go to Fürth or to Nürnberg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's not that great. But I think it's the best I have for the moment. Although, I don't know, maybe if I run up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, I might be able to make a little more. This thing is 40. No, these are, I think this is even worth more. Okay, so we hit a 50 here, 2 40s, which brings us to 130, 160, 170. Okay, well, that's 170 and I'm going to pay out, of course. So now I'm going to buy a train from the Prussian. I thought about buying the 5+5, but let's be honest, I cannot run the 5+5 really efficiently. Maybe. 1, 2, 3. Nah, I cannot go through there. No, I can't. I can't. The 4+4 I can run here in a very efficient way. The 5 is already a problem. I can run with a 5 here. Okay, granted, if I buy the 5 plus 5, I could make it to Berlin. But then I'm kind of wasting 4 small dots. Or not, I mean, not quite. I could... then I cannot run the 5. The 5 is really then bad, right? Because I can... How bad is the 5? Yeah, I mean, this is clearly better. It's a tough call, man. If I start here, though, 1, 2, 3... Nah. 1, 2, 3, 4... Yeah, kind of... I mean, I would waste one city, but I could go to Berlin on the other hand. Is it worth it? I own much more shares, so maybe I'm actually going to buy the 5 plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I could even make it to Hamburg with the 5 plus 5 from down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to buy the 5 plus 5. Let's see how much money I need. Ooh, there's a ton of money in there, actually. There's enough money in there to buy a... Holy crap. Wow, that's impressive. There's actually enough money in here. So I'm going to give them a little bit money so they can lay terrain and stuff. That might be useful. Yeah, so... Yeah, I'm going to give them... fuck it. I'm going to give them $100, right? I mean, I got... Yeah, it's still a ton of money left here, but it's not going to be enough to... well, I have more than enough trains here, so I'm fine. Okay, so now I own these 2 trains, and I paid out, obviously, and now we have 3 more companies to run in this OR. Okay, so we paid out here, and that was 170, and yeah, as I said, I paid that out. If I swallow, it's 500. Well, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I could swallow. Would that be enough to buy the 6 plus 6? We have here 400, 500, 10, 20, 30, plus 170, would be 700. It's not quite enough. So, no, I'm gonna miss about, yeah, I don't know, something like $13 or so. So it's not gonna be good enough, and therefore I might as well pay out. It doesn't really help me that much, and I own 80%, so I think paying out is a good idea. Now this Mecklenburgische is running, and it doesn't own a train. Now, is there anything... there is no tile that actually allows me to go like this, which really sucks. In the end, I'm going to end up with the 4 train. Or is there anything I can do to help any one of my companies? I might considering upgrading this. That might help the Sächsische, maybe. So that is this one here, and this is also the last standard tile which is available. So yeah, let's upgrade that. Magdeburg. It doesn't help me that much. Or maybe it will, who knows. I could go from there to Berlin, for example. with a 4 train, which is a fine run. And it might help the Sächsische, which is also good for me. Okay, so I'm sitting there without a train, and what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pay out, obviously. This is really the bottom of the barrel now. And I'm going to buy for, well, let's make it $4, just in case we want to keep a buck in here. I'm going to buy the 4 train over from the Württembergische. Okay, this is it. And the last company then is the Oldenburgische, who's operating. They're sitting on a 4 train, which is okay for them. I mean, it's not going to make a ton of money, but it makes money. And they probably will simply go from Magdeburg to Hamburg. And that's kind of interesting. If you cross that little, if you cross in the middle, this track, you're going to pay for the ferry $10. So only get 50 for Hamburg. But still, I think it's a good run. I'm going to go from Magdeburg to Hamburg to Berlin and then down to Dresden. So overall, that is 60, 160, 200. Which is a fine run for a 4 train, no doubt here. And of course we're going to pay out. So I realized at the end of the stock round I forgot to increase the share value. I did that now. So the Preußen had 2 trains, a 4+4 and a 4. And they ran for 470, which is pretty impressive. And now they bought themselves a 6 trains, so I'm pretty sure they're going to get a extremely strong run in the future. So the Bayerische didn't lay a tire. They have now pretty much a fixed route. They run from... Wait a minute. Does that make sense? This thing is 50. They can actually run from Augsburg. Yeah, that gives them 10 more. So they can run from Augsburg via Nuremberg, then this town here, they have to take that. Dresden, Berlin and Hamburg. And that's as good as it gets with a 6 train. I'm pretty sure that's the maximum they can make with a single 6 train. And that is 27, by the way. So it's not that great, but I mean, it's okay, but compared to some other companies, it's going to be ridiculously low. But it might be the best company with a single train. But it's painful if the company you hold 90% of or so has just a single train. Of course, he really didn't manage to improve that. So to arrange that in a clever way. But it's still 216 for him. I mean, that's quite a bit of money. So the Sächsische seems also now pretty much at their maximum. They also can start in Hamburg, Berlin, Dresden, then they got to take this dot here, Frankfurt, and then they end up here. So they make 26 with a 6 train. Yeah. So the Hessische was running for 49. They started here in Frankfurt. No, they started actually here. And then went with a 5 train to Hamburg via Berlin. And the 6+6 went from Stuttgart over here, took all the dots here, like this, went like this, here, over here, then here, and like that, and ended up here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. And it took 1, 2, 3, 4 dots, which is a good start. Sadly, I couldn't upgrade Stuttgart. That would have been awesome. I could have then started maybe even down here in Nuremberg, which would have been even better. and then move this way here, or another option would have been to lay a tile here later and grab another dot. But yeah, there is no more regular city brown tile available here. So the Badische has a 5 and a 5 plus 5. The 5 plus 5 runs from down here, Mannheim or whatever. No, actually they start at this little dot here. Then they go like this via Frankfurt, and then here to Berlin and Hamburg. And the 5 train simply runs the Ruhr area like this. He's got to take a single dot, but he starts here and just goes like this. And overall he's making 450 out of this run, which is also a really good run. He's sitting on 100% of that company, so that is really impressive. And it, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much here winning. I'm pretty sure about that. Holding 45% of the poison, 100% of the Badische. That is really a promising position for him. By the way, the Badische is trying to connect to Hamburg here, the Ruhr area to Hamburg. That would be great, but honestly, someone else might simply piss him off here. That is definitely possible. But there might be other people who might be interested in that. I mean, this would be a great run, and yeah, we'll see. The Hessische, for example, well, the problem for the Hessische is they cannot cut through here, but maybe they can find another way to we'll find out. The Württembergische is trying to get as many dots as possible here. They have now a 6 plus 6. And no, actually they don't. They will get a 6 plus 6. They don't have a train at all now. Just realized it. So I just laid a track here, but I'm gonna drop because I cannot pay out. And now I gotta buy my train actually. And let's see how much money I have in there. Not enough. I need a... Okay, let's see. Now these are 520. Okay, I'm gonna simply take the money. It's not gonna be enough. I got to spend about 180 or so to buy myself a cool, fancy 6 plus 6. So this is gonna be 500. 6, 7, and 20. There we go. So now all my companies have trains. Problem is all my companies have only a single train, and obviously that's not that great. I managed to go not to go bankrupt, but I'm clearly out of the game, you know. Not necessarily because I simply paid that much, but because the players who are doing well manage to kind of abuse a company to get two companies in, to get two trains in the company they hold the most share of. And this guy even has two wonderful running companies. But, you know, he did it exactly well, and the other guys were simply struggling. He ended up with a single train, and he ended up with 3 companies and a single train in each, which isn't definitely that great. Apart from that, of course, the share value of this is just at 60, at 86, which is also terribly poor. Now the Oldenburgische with a 4 train will operate. So people are already start to screw this connection here. So the Oldenburgische upgraded this into this. It's still possible, but if someone else makes another upgrade or lays a tile here or something, you know, it's going to get harder and harder. Apart from that, there's not a lot they can do. They can run basically from Magdeburg to Hamburg and then down here. Or here, actually, this is better. That gives them a solid amount of money. So, Yeah, they got to use the ferry, so Hamburg is only 50 bucks, but still it's gonna be 200 bucks exactly. So that's a solid run with a 4 train, right? There is no doubt about that. Let's find a marker for this. The Mecklenburgische is also running for 4 trains, so they're running for 180. They start in Hamburg, Schwerin, Berlin, and then Dresden. They got to lay a token in somewhere in Berlin probably. Otherwise, they always have to take that 10 bucks from Schwerin, which just sucks. Okay, the route calculation for this is a nightmare, you know, with all the dots here, 4 plus 4, 6 plus 6. Even trying to optimize this is ridiculous. So what I came up with, and I'm not sure if it's the best, I have a 4 train which runs from Hamburg over Magdeburg, Berlin to Dresden. Then I've got a 4 plus 4 which runs from Hamburg, Berlin, down here, takes the dot, goes here to Frankfurt. That makes no sense actually. You know what, I gotta take that city here. Yeah, that's true, I forgot this dot here, so I think I'm gonna make actually 730. So we're gonna go from Hamburg, Berlin, here to Leipzig, take these 2 dots here, go down here to Frankfurt, and then take these dots here. That's the 4 plus 4. And then the 6 plus 6 starts here at Stuttgart and does the same route as this other guy here from the Hessische. Basically goes up here, takes all the dots here, runs like this, and then ends up here in the end. Okay, that was, I think, 730, and it took me something like, I don't know, 10 minutes to calculate this. This is where it gets kind of painful. If you're a solo, that's okay, right? If you're playing with other people, it sucks. It really does. It's a nightmare for other people. But solo, it's okay. So of course we're gonna pay that out. And now you gotta calculate the 5% shares and all that crap in addition to that. So the Sächsische now have their 6 train, and they are also at their best route, I guess. They start here in Magdeburg, then go north here. Do they? Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, they start in Hamburg, Berlin, Leipzig, Dresden, take the dot, and then to Nuremberg, and that's 270. And they pay out. So the Württembergische with their 6 train is now really making a big run. I mean, this map is really fun to play, you know, if you like laying track and if you like engineering a little bit, this is really a fun thing. He starts actually here, goes down here, and down here, all the way here via Munich, this way here, up here, grabs this little tile to Berlin, up north to Hamburg, and now we have a connection here to these 2 dots. He starts here way north. I don't know, it might be Stralsund or maybe Greifswald or something. So yeah, this from here all the way up north. That is worth 340, and yeah, it's a nice little run. And of course, they also pay out, but they are already way behind. You know, you got basically these 5 companies which are performing well, and then yeah, it's quite a gap there. So the Mecklenburg laid a token in Berlin, so they can now also make simply this run here, which is the most profitable here. They don't have to be in Schwerin anymore. They don't have to stop there anymore. But they didn't have the money to do that before, so they had to wait until they get money from the shares here, and now they could do that because they have 50% in the treasury. So we're at the end here. We go to the next stock round, and I'm sure this is going to be the last stock round. The bank will break in the following cycle. I mean, how much do we make in average? Hard to tell, maybe 40 or something. Maybe not quite that much, but I guess about 40. We have 8 companies operating, so it's going to be yeah, what is it going to be, man? 3,000, about 3,000 each OR, basically, right? That's a lot, and there's not much in here. I mean, if I guess it's going to be over after one OR, to be honest. I'm pretty sure about that. And a few guys were maybe too optimistic. Let's be honest. These guys here, maybe they shouldn't have swallowed that one turn, and maybe they shouldn't have bought the 6+6. Okay, I mean, if they would not have bought it, maybe the bank wouldn't have broke so far, you know. It's kind of a tricky thing. I mean, if you buy a trade, if you swallow to buy a trade, you make the bank maybe break faster, but on the other hand not, because you pay in the money for the trade, right? So, but then again, yeah, hard to tell. But I think, I mean, overall, I think you might slow the game down a little bit, because you pay the money in for the train, and the train takes probably 2 ORs to, maybe even 3 ORs. With a 6+6 train, you know, until you come to 720, it takes you about between 2 or 3 ORs, I guess. But that's the thing, you know, was it a good idea to swallow with these guys? I don't know. It's very questionable. And yeah, maybe a few people were too optimistic that the bank would hold 2 or 3 operating rounds longer. The thing is, you don't play to the end of the cycle of operating rounds, if I remember that right, but you only play to the end of that specific operating round when the bank breaks. So actually we might only see one more OR, and I'm considering not loading this up, but actually playing this game to the end. Have a quick look now at the end of the OR about the money. Well, as expected, this guy is of course performing fantastic. You know, he's sitting on close about $2,000, and in addition to that, he holds 45% of the most valuable shares. And the Baden he holds 100% of is also doing pretty well. So yeah, I mean, he is definitely doing great. There's no doubt here. Interestingly though, it seems like number 2 is actually this guy. And I didn't expect that. And that's the thing, you know, that he's the player who holds a company that only has a single trade. And he holds, I think, about 90% of that company. But he didn't swallow. And that's the thing, you know, I was thinking about, hey, maybe I shouldn't swallow. And he also had to swallow to buy that 6 trade. But I think overall, the Bayerische didn't swallow quite as much as, especially now toward the end of the game, as some others did. And so he paid out a lot, and the value is also very high. I mean, just a little less than the Prussian. But he holds 90%, while the other guy is only holding 45%. So this is a massive share value. He holds 10% of the Prussian and some of the other crap, right? I mean, he's really good, and he also has pretty much the same amount of money as this guy. But I think he has a better share value, so it seems like he might be in the lead. Depending now, I mean, he gets the higher revenue. So it's going to be very close between these two. He's going to make a lot of money in this last OR. And as I said, he will get a much higher revenue than this guy. But, yeah, depends. We will see. We will see if the Bayerische will be worth, in the end, enough so that he ends up over him. And this guy here, well, I mean, I expected him to be the main competitor to him. And the Hessische is doing really well. But, you know, the Oldenburgische is just not that good. Let's be honest about that. He holds 35% of the Prussian, though, which is good. So, yeah, I mean, maybe there is still a chance for him. but he is not quite as successful. He's sitting here on maybe 1600 or so, and yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, we're gonna see. I think it's between these two. This guy is out of the game. I mean, he holds about a little more than 1,000, and the shares. I mean, the Sächsische is okay, right? But it's also not that great anymore. Württembergische isn't doing well, and yeah, I mean, his companies are not performing that great. So overall, I think it's going to be between the owner of the Bayerischen and the owner of the Badischen, and let's say the main shareholder of the Preußischen. But we're going to go into the last stock round now. So we're at the end of the stock round. Not too much happened. Most people were already at their stock limit. Few people tried to optimize their portfolio, which was hard. A few people decided to sell shares of the Sächsische and instead bought a double share of the Mecklenburg-Schwerin. Holding a double share is kind of cool. The Sächsische makes a much better share appreciation. They're sitting here underneath this green one, and the other one is down here. So that was really a tough decision. Is the double share of the Mecklenburg better, or grabbing or keeping the Sächsische? In the end, most people decide, or at least this guy actually decided to sell the Sächsische simply to lower the share value a little bit, and instead he grabbed the double share. This guy also ended up with a double share of the Mecklenburg-Schwerin, and I think he actually sold the Württembergische, which is not having such a share appreciation, and therefore I think it's clearly not as good as the double share. That gave him the option to buy that share of the Württembergische, that free share basically, which doesn't count against the certificate limit. And he didn't have to do any nationalization or something. We didn't see that anyway, these nationalization things, although people had the money to do it. But you know, if there's just a single OR, it's probably not worth it. I mean, you're giving an opponent 50% of the share value in cash, right? So if you would give it to the bank, you might even consider it. But if you give it to an opponent, you need to be sure that this thing pays off for you. And if you just have a single OR left, maybe two, it's really not so clear how many ORs are left, but it's going to be only one or two, and then I'm pretty sure it's not going to be worth it. So for example, for this guy, it would have been cool to get this double Hessen share, but hey, it's because he only holds 80%, so basically he holds less shares. If he could buy this double share now, although he already is at this certificate limit. So that would be cool. These would be simply 2 more shares. But on the other hand, he would basically have to give the other guy $136 from his money. You know, I don't know if these 2 shares are worth that much. I really doubt it, especially not in a single OR. So apart from that, not too much interesting happened. Everybody is now at the share limit, and we're ready to go in the last OR, maybe last ORs. So the Preußische ran for 750, the Bayerische for 270, and the Preußische managed, the Hessische managed now to get a connection between Hamburg and the Ruhr area down here. So it doesn't do them a lot of good because they have to pass Bremen, which kind of sucks. So they got to go like this, but still, It allows them to take a lot of dots over here. So if you go with a 6 plus 6, you can really make good money. You start basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they can go down here 6, and they can take 1, 2. They can even take, no, they can't. 3, 4, 5 dots. So that is really, really good now. So thanks to this new connection, the Hessische runs now for 5:30, which is really good. And yeah, this run here from basically from Hamburg down to here, all the way here through the Ruhr area with all these little dots with a 6 plus 6 gives them 320. That is just amazing. It definitely is. As I said, the route calculation at this stage of the game becomes a nightmare with all these, all the dots. These plus trains allow you to take more dots and all that, and so you got to try to optimize everything. So what I'm ended up with here for the Badische is I actually made a run from Berlin. I didn't make this run anymore down here. Instead, I started over here via Hamburg, Bremen, down here, and then here. So there is the token of the Badische. And the other train, the 5 plus 5, started here, then ran like this down here, took here the dots, then this, Frankfurt, and then went up here and took a few more dots here. And I managed to make 10 more bucks. Yeah, as I said, solo, I enjoy that kind of game. I think it's kind of fun to do that, to optimize stuff and to enjoy the network that you've built there, your empire of track. But if you play with other people, it's just annoying. Anyway, I managed to make 470 with the Badische, with a 5 and a 5 plus 5. So I'm done with the OR, and it's gonna be a second one. There's still a little bit of money in here. That's not that little. $1,000, 2,000, maybe 2,500 or so. So will the bank break? I actually kind of miscalculated somehow. Well, that's 75, 53. That's about 1,200, right? $17, 2,000, 2,600. Yeah, it's not even quite. Yeah, it probably will. I'm pretty sure this time it will break. Yeah, it's kind of close, but I'm kind of sure it will break. So this is probably going to be now the last OR. It's highly likely. Overall, this makes this guy happy that we got 2 more ORs. So the swallowing here with the Preußische was definitely worth it, I guess. They make a good run now. It's going to be easy too, actually. There is no change in the last OR now. There were a lot of tile placements until to pretty much the end of the game, but now in the last OR things are pretty much optimized. The last thing that happened was this connection to Hamburg and the connection over here and all that. But now we are at a point where I think it's not possible to improve things more. Even the trains, the plus trains, get all their dots and all that. So yeah, I just don't see any need to improve. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to pay out the revenue here, and that's it. Okay, this is it. The bank is basically empty. I had to make change, throw in another 500 or something. In the end it was about, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 short. And yeah, so that's it. And the OR ended. And Yeah, we have a winner, but I'm not totally sure who it is. I would place my bet on this guy, the owner of the Badische, but also the owner of the Bayerische is doing really well. And the Hessische had a few really good runs now toward the end, and he also controls shares the 35, so the 35% of the Prussian. So the fact that there was basically now one more OR than I kind of expected before that was definitely also in his favor. But I think probably it's going to be the owner of the Badische, the Prussian, who will win this game. We're going to make the calculations now. Okay, now, in the end, it wasn't quite as close as I thought. This guy is a clear winner. And I got a nice little scoring app here. Oops. So, basically, he's sitting on... Shit. Yeah, okay, he has 6,656. Second one is then the owner of the Bayerische. This guy over here, 6,096. This guy is 5,750, which is still okay, and he is far, far behind with 4,243. Yeah, I mean, the company dump, especially that one of the Mecklenburg-Schwerin, was a disaster for him. That definitely destroyed his game. Apart from that, he has not really great shares. The Sächsische is okay, but the rest, the Württembergische, is clearly the weakest of the, let's say, of the major companies. You know, you might say, okay, we got basically, I mean, if we don't count the Preußen, that basically every player sits on a bunch of shares on a single company. Maybe he actually has the Sächsische and the Württembergische. So therefore you might say, okay, the Sächsische is not performing that bad and it has a good share value, but the Württembergische doesn't do him that much good. The Hessische is really good. The Bayerische was fantastic. It has a massive share value of overall nearly 2,000 for these 100%. That was massive. And the Badische was also doing okay together with the Hessische and the Sächsische, but the Württembergische was far behind. But okay, he actually, at least he managed to help the 70% of the Sächsische, but it just wasn't good enough, right? And yeah, so I think it was pretty much as we could have expected, and even if not for that one additional OR, I think this guy was clearly in the lead. Okay, so before I actually say a few words about the game, I just want to show you, and that is already the first aspect actually, I want to show you the beautiful outcome of the map, you know. I mean, this is just amazing. If you look at what we've constructed here, you know, all these cool areas with tons and tons of connections and intersections, and, you know, it's just amazing what we see here. You don't see that in so many 18xx games. I mean, yeah, okay, but let's say it that way. In these 1830 style games, you know, especially in 1830, you don't see a map like that. In 1830, it's all about New York. There's a big bunch of tiles around New York, and so, but the rest of the map is more or less not exactly empty, but there's not that much going on the other parts of the map. And you don't see that many tile lays because there are not that many companies. You have all the miners here, and the game usually doesn't go that long. But here, I mean, look at that beautiful map, and I really enjoyed it. Especially playing solo, you know. If you play with other people, I already said that, it can get kind of annoying to try to optimize every little bit and you know, and kind of 10 more bucks, and you have to count 10 minutes to find that and all that. But solitaire, I kind of like it. I think it's fun. Overall, I can say I love this game. I think 1835 is one of the best 18xx games that I've played so far. My favorite is still 41, but this one is totally amazing. It has a pretty low rating, 7.0. This is one of the lowest ratings on BoardGameGeek for a, well, let's say an 18xx game, which is beyond garage niveau, you know, which, I mean, of course there are some self-published 18xx games that have 10 copies or so, and some of them might have a lower rating, some of them have a higher rating, I guess. But anyway, I mean, this one, you know, there are a lot of copies, and from this, and it has a great publisher. Hans and Glück was a big publisher, and the rating is really low. The reason for that is, I think that if you play the original rules, there is a massive problem with the starting auction, where basically the seeding order decides a ton how the game ends up. But there are variants for that, you know. This is a classic, this is a very, very old game, and people came up with variants to fix it. And I think it works fantastic. And you know, it's a simple variant just in the starting auction. There is not a ton of crazy stuff going on during the game, that it's a total different game or something. No, it's just the starting auction that was changed into a very, very simple, you know, this kind of snake buy stuff, and it's really not a big deal. And that changes the game a lot, and it makes it more interesting. It makes it, it gives it more variety. You can try different strategies. I just love it. I absolutely do. What this game does is, and not many games accomplish that, first of all, it forces you to do the cross-investing, especially at the beginning, right? You have to invest in other people's companies because there are just a few companies available. And if you want to do something with your money, you have to invest in other people's companies. But there is still a real risk that a company might get dumped on you, right? In most other games that work with cross-investing, usually a company will not get dumped on you. And if it does, you are not liable for it. For example, in, I don't know, 1853 or 62 or so, if a company gets dumped on you, which is bad, it's not such a big deal, right? But here, you are liable, you are fully liable for your company. The companies need a train. So if a company gets dumped on you, you're fucked. You know, like this guy. So you have still the risk of a company dump. It's not as bad as, for example, in 1830, because the trains are simply not that expensive. So it's not, a bankruptcy might be hard, right? I mean, he did pretty well buying, I don't know, I think one train totally out of pocket, and also he had to spend some other, so you can survive that. But it's still there, you know, the danger is still there, and also this abusing of other companies, you know, starting new companies and taking the money out of it and trying to feed your main company and all these kind of things. All this is still there, but still you are willing to cross-invest. Simply also because of these 20% shares of the later companies. You know, that's also a very clever move, because usually the later companies are just not valuable anymore. Nobody wants to invest in that stuff because it often has no route. And I mean, in this case, it wasn't that bad. But, you know, usually these companies are just, or are often bad, especially compared to the new companies. So what did they do? Well, in the second tier, the last share of a company is 20%, like here. And then in the last tier, you have 3 shares that come with 20%. So it gets more and more, these shares are interesting. These shares are valuable. People want these shares, especially if the share limit is pretty low, you know, compared to the money you make. So you really try to squeeze out every little bit and try to find a way to increase your share limit. So these 20%, or to increase the number of shares you hold. So it's not only the presidents like in most other games, it's also the double shares, and in addition to that you got this nationalization option, which is also really cool because you're going to try to focus on a single company, try to get 2 trains in that company, and then you can buy shares of other players, and that is really cool. I love that, and you can force them to give them your shares. But on the other hand, and that's another reason why you want to cross-invest, other players might say, hey, we cannot allow this guy to get, I don't know, 100% of the Bayerische, for example. So we have to make sure he doesn't get 60%. Because as soon as he has 60%, he can do that forced purchase, right? But as long as you're only at 50, you can't do that. So that is another interesting choice. And damn, there's so much interesting stuff going on. And it's not only the track laying and building these cool and nice routes. There is a lot going on with the shares and also on the stock market. You have these plus trains. And this is another fantastic thing, because the fact that there are these plus trains kind of in between your main trains, your standard trains, makes the timing so interesting. You know, you want the plus trains because they're so much better than your standard trains. Especially the 4+4, the 5+5, right? These guys are even better sometimes than the 6s. So you want these trains. So, you know, you can try to fiddle around with the player order or something, and how can I arrange to somehow make the other companies buy that other train before me so that I can buy the plus train, and all these little things. This is a fantastic detail with these better trains in between. I think that's just great. Also the fact that it feels very realistic in a historical way, because at the beginning the plus trains are not that interesting. You try to develop routes between the big cities. But after certain points, you know, when all the big cities are connected and so on, in other games, there's not a lot of track laying going on. You upgrade your cities and that's it. But here, because of the plus trains, you start connecting the towns too, you know, which kind of represents the development of the railroad network. You know, at the beginning you have the big cities, and then you come to the smaller towns, obviously. And so, yeah, you see all these cool little dots now toward the end. They were all connected here, and or over here, you know, these connections here. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game that I really, really enjoy. The miners, definitely a great aspect of the game. The slow development, I enjoy that a lot. I don't necessarily enjoy playing the first OR and you are already in brown. Right, I mean, okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but definitely in green. And that is very common in most games. You play a single OR and then you are in green. Maybe in your second OR you are in green, but yeah, often in the first OR already. And here you basically you have time to develop the whole net a little bit, you know, and as I said, you will cross-invest, and few companies will start making money, and then after a while other companies become available. I totally love that pace of the game, you know. And the building of the Prussian. It's another really cool aspect, you know, fighting over the control of the Prussian, and yeah, then that decision, you know, if you do you want to build, do you want to start the Prussian as soon as possible, or maybe do you want to run your miners longer and start the Prussian later in the game? When do you buy these optional shares, you know? You might also gamble for that. I mean, that is an interesting choice. Let's say the guy who is basically the owner of the Prussian, or who has the most, has the most miners and the most shares of the Prussian, if he doesn't buy shares from there, you know, someone else could do it and hope and say, okay, I might not get the money now because this guy is simply not opening the Prussian yet, but maybe it's worth it. Maybe I have 3 shares of the Prussian or so just sitting here in my portfolio, and after another cycle of operating rounds, these become super valuable. A lot of interesting decisions in this game. It's a long game, no doubt here, but I love it. And also in a multiplayer game, you know, with other people, that is just, for me, that's no big deal at all. I really enjoy it, and it works very well with 3 players too. So yeah, this is fantastic. It is a super underrated game, and I can absolutely recommend it. Give it a shot. If you find a copy, they're not that expensive, especially in Europe. I think it's pretty easy to find a copy for $50 or so, and give it a shot. Use one of the starting variants, and if you like slower paced games with some interesting route building, I guess you might really enjoy that. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.